Attention Innovision passengers. You are now cleared for departure to the 21st century.
Hey, that's some destination.
My wife's right. Wait till you see the interactive worlds of tomorrow. Mystical farms and mushroom kingdoms, even colonies in space. But you know, this isn't exactly the first time anyone's tried to make this trip. Come on, I'll show you what I mean.
For nearly 200 years, amusement parks have beckoned patrons with promises of adventure and merriment. Traditionally a passive experience, with the turn of the century came a new style of attraction, one that allowed riders to interact with the experience around them. The concept's rudimentary forms first began to take shape in the 1920s with rider-controlled amusements like the Dodgems, or bumper cars as they're more commonly known as today. The 1940s saw the addition of the Herschel Looper, so named after its inventor Alan Herschel, where riders could press a pedal at their feet which would cause their car to freely loop as it spun around. Early carousels were among the first to implement a game of skill, where one could throw iron rings into various targets as they passed by, with the rare brass ring being worth a free ride. By the 1950s, the face of amusement parks would forever be changed, thanks in part to one man's dream of a magic kingdom, which would look like nothing else in the world and be surrounded by a train.
There's the grand old man himself, Walt Disney. This is the way a theme park looked to him back in the mid-20th century.
With the creation of Disneyland, the template of theme park immersion was elevated. First by employing classic theatrical techniques to bring the worlds of yesterday, tomorrow, and fantasy to life, and then, with the help of Walt's team of Imagineers, by pioneering brand new technologies like audio animatronics. Walt's park also took inspiration from the aforementioned guest-controlled attractions, as seen with the Mad Tea Party, Dumbo the Flying Elephant, and Autopia. By the early 1960s, Imagineering had not only set the standard in theme park immersion and storytelling, but were on the brink of a brand new type of experience altogether, one that would finally allow their guests to become active participants and control how the experience unfolded. A planned Chinatown expansion to Main Street, USA would have seen the park's first animatronic-focused restaurant, rumored to have been called the Golden Dragon. Diners would be entertained by an entirely animatronic show starring an interactive Confucius who, in addition to being Imagineering's first human animatronic, would have answered audience questions in real time with tongue-in-cheek words of wisdom. The project continued so far into development that a mock Confucius head was actually constructed, but the idea was soon abandoned in favor for an attraction dedicated to America's 16th president, saving us from the inevitable Eddie Murphy takeover in the 90s. The concept of an animatronic restaurant would soon be revived for Adventureland, where Confucius and his dragon would be swapped out for singing birds and crooning flowers, though it remains unclear if the Tiki Room was ever intended to be fully interactive. In another attempt at interactive dining, while developing Disneyland's private restaurant Club 33, Walt insisted on adding a few Disney-style touches throughout the venue, including several seemingly stuffed trophy animals who, through the use of cleverly hidden microphones in the chandeliers, and an unseen cast member, would occasionally spring to life and converse with the guests. Although this idea never came to pass, both the vulture and the chandeliers were actually constructed, and could be found in the trophy room until the club's remodel in 2014. Today, club members can still spot one lasting tribute, as the vulture has since migrated to the grandfather clock in the lobby, and, while not interactive, finally animates as originally intended.
But you're all looking simply dapper. Oh, we are so delighted.
Unfortunately, due to Walt's untimely passing in 1966, any further hopes of interactive shows, restaurants, or attractions were halted, with the company entering a period of stagnation as they struggled to move on without their patriarch's guidance.
Old Uncle Walt may not have had all the answers, but he had the right idea.
He was just a little ahead of his time.
Over the following years, Disneyland would continue to showcase basic forms of interactivity, like character meet and greets and shooting galleries. But the first narrative-driven interactive experience would not arrive until 1 year after Walt's passing. Conceived by Radu Sincera for the Czechoslovakian Pavilion at the 1967 International and Universal Exposition in Montreal, Kinotomat is widely recognized to be the world's first interactive movie. Audience members would begin watching a film involving a man's apartment in flames, which was then rewound to show the events leading up to the fire. At 9 separate points throughout the story, a moderator would pause the film and ask the audience to vote for one of 2 possible outcomes. Using buttons built into their seats, the majority vote would determine how the film proceeded, Little did the audience know, however, the film would always arrive at the same conclusion of the apartment on fire, serving as Sincera's commentary on democracy. Kinatama revolutionized the concept of a narratively driven interactive experience, but it would take another 2 decades for the world's first truly interactive attraction to come to fruition.
I suppose people have always dreamed of new ways to interact with the world. We sure do.
But the only difference is that today, with what we know and what we're learning to do, we can really bring our dreams to life. It takes a lot of work, but the truth is, if we can dream it, we can do it.
Tomorrow's horizons are here, today.
Horizons opened in Walt Disney World's Epcot Center on October 1st, 1983, for the park's 1-year anniversary. Often thought of as the crowning jewel of Epcot, the attraction not only showcased every subject of Future World's 9 pavilions, it also played off of Walt's original intentions to build his own experimental prototype community of tomorrow. Designed as a spiritual sequel to the Carousel of Progress, Horizons followed the same family into the next century as they demonstrated the wonders of futuristic living. The 15-minute journey began by looking back at tomorrow, showing visions of the future as they were imagined by Jules Verne and Albert Robida, up to the science fiction serials of the 1950s. After passing by 2 giant Omnimax screens, displaying the modern wonders of scientific progress, the journey transitioned into the 21st century, where not much had changed, but they live underwater. Other communities seen along the way included bustling cities, orange-smelling farms, and suburban space stations orbiting 250 miles above the Earth. Featuring lush environments populated by over 50 animatronics, the entire experience was tied together by an original song from longtime Disney Parks composer George Wilkins, who promised riders that if they can dream it, they can do it. The journey culminated with guests being able to select their own trip back home from the future. Panels located in front of each of the 4 seats would let riders select the trip of their choice, land, sea, or space, with the vehicle's majority vote then shown on a domed screen that traveled at the same pace alongside the vehicle, essentially turning the slow-moving Omnimover into a simulator of sorts. For many, Horizon served as the pinnacle of Disney Imagineering, coupling state-of-the-art effects with an engaging storyline. Despite its ongoing popularity, however, the ride was unceremoniously closed first in 1994, and then again in 1999, after it had been temporarily resurrected to help absorb the crowds left behind due to Test Track's delayed opening. Today, another technologically advanced interactive attraction occupies the space where Horizons once stood, but more on that later. Small tributes to the attraction still remain, with Tokyo's version of Star Tours still playing all 3 of Horizon's endings in their entirety. Even though it may no longer inspire future generations of dreamers, Horizons remains not only the quintessential example of Epcot's original vision, but also one of the cornerstones of theme park interactivity.
What you've just seen are the building blocks for the future up ahead. And while it may look fantastic, remember, it's all possible.
That's right. Uh-oh, we gotta run.
We'll catch up to you later.
And now, it's your turn to venture out into the interactive worlds of yesterday, tomorrow, and fantasy. Of course, it always helps to have a few parameters when undertaking an expedition of this magnitude. All following examples of interactivity fall under 3 main classifications: interactive attractions, interactive queues or lands, and natural interactions, meaning those that depend on a living social component. Secondly, in the interest of time, we'll only discuss permanent interactive experiences, as well as ones that reflect a unique facet of the overarching idea. In other words, anything akin to your basic meet and greet, haunted house, or local museum may still qualify, but won't be shown in this exploration. And for those thinking that this all seems oddly similar to our shared universe exploration,
yes, you're very smart. Shut up.
I'll see you all on the other side.
Attention, Innovision passengers. You are invited to choose your own interactive flight path back to the future port. Please look at the lighted panels on your screen. Select one of 3 categories of interactivity: attractions, lands, or natural. Everyone can choose. Majority rules. You will be able to view the remaining categories following each section. After viewing all 3, select the future port to conclude your journey. All passengers, make your selections now.